plane just crashed with the coke. My name is Timmay. This is my good co-host Brian Fonseca.
Yeah.
Pardon the music of Mother Christian and Freeport. The shirt is still out because there's some Afro beats playing. So I actually want our producer to name this episode "Cocaine and Condolences," and you guys
Cocaine and Condolences.
So you'll understand this afterwards. Cocaine and Condolences. So I said from the Bahamas. Born here, raised here, live here. My boy Brian from Puerto Rico. This is New York. So if you are into Caribbean music dancehall, there's this very popular song by Silla Bain called Coke. And the reason why I started with Finish Scratch with the Coke is because if we and Brian, we really fucks with Narcos. Like Narcos is that shit. Narcos is the greatest intro of all time. I actually watched the whole season 3 of Narcos, but because I respect everybody's right to watching it one time, we're gonna take it nice and slow.
Nice and slow. 2 episodes reviewing.
But if you haven't watched it yet, this is a spoiler. This is a spoiler.
There we go, David.
There we go, David. This is the spoiler. So the first episode of Narcos season 3.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. So you can come off. The Law of the Skies. The plane literally crashed with the coke.
Yes.
So for those of you who have been watching Narcos, Felix is in jail, and it's so crazy that the ascent, like, Amado just was the nephew of the guy Felix is working with, and now Felix is like the biggest trafficker in all of Mexico. And the plane got shot down. Not shot down. Did it get shot down, or was it just like an engine failure?
Look, that shit blew up. All right, like that's
so like it's early 90s.
Amado Carrillo Fuentes, the Lord of the Skies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The plane just crashed with the coke.
He's not having a good season so far. I'll put it that way.
So he spends 3 months in jail, and so I'm a real
grew out his beard too.
Yeah, so I'm a big history buff. So I watch a lot of stuff on Netflix, or Disney Plus or Hulu or whatever that actually has history ties. What I do is I watch it and I Google it. So before we get into Narcos, I want to talk about the actual Narcos references to our own lives. So I don't know if y'all know, Escobar actually owned the island in the Bahamas that is passed through. Like there's still a lot of stories of Bahamians who profited from that era. They used to there's a bag of money that fell through the sky. I always tell my dad, why do you pick up the bag? There's literally there are people I know who parents picked up a bag of drug money by accident. I was able to invest, buy a house for free, So like the drug trade, the Narcos, Escobar, that had a real life effect on a lot of Bahamians.
Wow.
They worked for the people indirectly, directly. Sometimes the money, and so for those who watch Narcos, we know that Pablo wasted $2 million a week. He literally made so much money, he couldn't go to the bank, couldn't buy enough shit. So he used to put it in the wall. He used to get lost. So a lot of that money that got lost ended up in some Bahamian hands, So it's crazy how I always wish that my father found that bag. I'd be living lavish, He'd have bought a mansion from, debt free. So what about you? Any real world Narcos ties to you and the Puerto Rico? Like what was the effect of Puerto Rico during this time where Mexico and Colombia was just selling coke?
I mean, there are a lot of Puerto Ricans in Florida. So there's a lot going through. You know what I'm saying? We're right in the Caribbean. I would say like it affected a lot of different people. I don't really have like the same sort of story necessarily because that is crazy. I did not know about Pablo Escobar. That's something I don't even think you told me offline. So that's great.
Yeah, right. So if you want the very, very, very first season, like episode 2 or 3, it was like
of regular Narcos, not Narcos.
Yeah,
Mexico.
Regular Narcos. So
which we both seen. We'll get to that at a different point.
Yeah, so they basically tell you how there's this island in the Bahamas. It's not one of our main islands. We have 700 islands, but they're like 16 that people actually live on. So it's a regular island that probably should have stopped there before you got to Miami. So you would leave you leave Colombia and stop over and then go to Miami. So that island was they name it. I'll look for the name, but it's actually named after him. So that's known as Pablo's Island. So like. It's crazy watching these things, and we'll get to sit on too. And I'm actually going to bring this on in our game at the end of the show. I'll bring him Tyrell back.
Yeah,
but man. So Narcos to me. So I said earlier, I really like shows that based on actual life events. I like to learn, I like to read. That's personally why. Other than the fact that I like mafia shit. Like I grew up on with fellas. But I as much as I like the Robert De Niro movies and stuff, I can't really relate to that Thailand mob. I can't relate to that life. I could personally relate to that type of to the Caribbean like drug trade because like I say I lived in the Caribbean some of these people really existed in my country. Like, so I feel connected to the show.
Yeah, it's same. Like, there's a lot of there's personal connections there. There's also the fact that I'm a Latino, so it's like we don't we don't get a lot of these shows on Netflix to support. You know what I'm saying? Gentefied is another one that I'm about to watch season 2 of, but Narcos, yeah. I mean, there's those sort of personal connections, and then there's also the fact that I am a misfit who grew up playing Grand Theft Auto and a lot of games that I shouldn't have played. So naturally, I'm gonna be interested in this stuff. My girlfriend does not appreciate that I like Narcos as much as I do, but hey, you know what I'm saying?
My wife hates. So it's crazy. She hates anything with blood and stuff with it, but she still refuses not to look away. Like, she'd watch it with me. What she'd do, she'd get a pillow. When she thinks someone will get shot, she'd do this, and then she'd peek and be like, "Did he get shot?"
That's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, yo, they don't look. My girl only complains if I'm about to put it on. If it's already on, she might roll her eyes, but then somebody will say some shit, and then she'll be like, "Oh,
who's that? What happened?"
Look, you sitting next to me anyway. You know what I mean? We sit. But yeah, let's get into Narcos, man. It's been
prefer Colombia or Mexico?
No, Mexico. Let's stay current because eventually we'll do Colombia or whatever. But because Mexico just came out. I think we should the way we should do this is we'll split this up because we're not gonna obviously recap the entire thing. So that would be mad disrespectful. 1, 2, I'm not done yet. So we stick to the first 2 episodes today because we have other stuff to get to, obviously. So
basically season 3 is the final season. I don't know why they ended. I think they have one more very important story to tell, but I guess I have something else for that. So I
don't spoil that for me either because I don't know what you're talking about yet.
Yeah, I won't. But it has been announced that this is the final season of Narcos Mexico.
I hope that Narcos continues though, because I feel like you could still go to Venezuela. You know what I'm saying?
So I didn't know. So I googled like, why is this the last season? And then Screen Rant said maybe there's 2 things that Screen Rant suggested: Venezuela or actually the Philippines. So I went like deep down the rabbit hole. I didn't know how deep the Philippines got. So I was Googling like, oh shit, it was like that.
I don't know as much about that either. I know more about the Venezuela shit. That's why I want to see something on it. Yo, by the way, if you want to keep it real too, you could kind of do Narcos America because there's a lot of shit going on here. You know what I mean? But no, we don't. We could just keep it to other places.
So this season's been narrated by a journalist, and we spoke about how we like journalists. We like the journalists, and we have so basically the Law of the Skies goes down.
What's the journalist's name in Narcos? You remember?
No, but I guess we could always put it up.
I'm pulling this up because I'm gonna tell you right now, through the first 2 episodes, and she actually doesn't even pop up in the first episode.
No, but she's narrated, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. She's a narrator, and she is my favorite character right now so far. So Narcos Mexico season 2, season 3 rather, because she hasn't popped up before. She's played by
Andrea Nunes.
Andrea Nunes is a character. She's played by Luisa Rubino, who I just followed on Instagram. So we're going to be talking about that. But yeah, I
like the fact that we're getting it from a journalist. Both of us as writers, I like to hear a journalist talk about this type of era. And hey, we're 90s babies, so the fact that we're in the 90s, a journalist narrating, so. And
the thing is, she plays a very important role. You could tell right away because of how she's introduced. Yeah. She is introduced very early in the second episode. And listen, there are certain characters when they're introduced in the season, you could tell by the way it's shot, the close-ups on her face, etc., the way she's talking to people, trying to gather information. She shows up to the wedding when she wasn't like
and so
she shows up to the wedding of. I'm forgetting.
I'm not gonna respond to Ariano's. But basically, Adina gets married to a very wealthy guy.
Adina, if you remember, she first pops up in season 2. Okay, yeah. Adina gets married to,
and they run Tijuana.
Yes, and they run Tijuana together. And they the same person. They both get married. She and Andrea pops up.
So what's the great part? But that's one. She basically sees a guy, but gets murdered because the guy talked about sexual intercourse with the wife, and they was like, they don't do disrespect well. Like because my sister's wedding.
Andrea gets a tip and she shows up to Adina's wedding ceremony or whatever. And then
she sees the judge.
She sees the judge. 3 Mexican hitmen come out. One of them played by Bad Bunny.
Come out. I even asked you about like, how do you feel about that? Like Bad Bunnies and like this is your guy, you know. I know you like wrestling too.
You see it. You know what I'm saying? You see it. I pointed to the wrong side of my head. It happens, yo. It happens. So, she is taking the notes, and she is sitting there, and she watches the murder of the dude who's being very loud. I don't remember if his name is not coming back to me.
I don't know his name, but it's given a toast, and basically talked about how she's gonna have sex today with this really small penis or something like that, and like, you know, they was not into that. Like that was like, this is a wedding, and they killed him. You know, Bad Bunny is the hitter.
That dude that gets killed, I'm forgetting his name, and I should remember, but he also has my favorite scene in the episode, which they're, you know, clapping their hands at the wedding. Everybody is, and you know, you hear a sniffle, like, because, you know, it gets emotional at weddings, whatever the case may be. And then his boys turn around and he's sniffing coke on the thing, like right there. Like,
right. He's like, yeah, it was
he says
Chapo and
El Chapo, El Chapo's character's there.
Yeah.
And the dude turns around and he's like, what? Hey, weddings get me emotional. You know what I'm saying? He says it in Spanish, which is funnier. He's like, weddings get me emotional. And he, you know, that sort of, it's beautiful because that actually sets up how crazy he gets later on. Drinking at the wedding. You remember he makes a reference to like how, like, as you mentioned, that as the father of Adina's father is talking about his daughter getting married and all this shit. And then he's like, yeah, and she's going to get fucked tonight or whatever the case may be. He's mad drunk. And that's when they take him out and kill him. Andrea's there to bring it back. And she is watching all this goes down. She actually tries to get an even better look, but one of the guards come up and just sort of is like, no, you're not going there. You don't have access to that.
And she was like, wait, he said, miss. She's like, okay.
Yo, but that's the thing. Like, I admire so many things about that. One, journalistically, to have the balls to go by that scene, and you know what that is, because it's mafia shit. It's cartel shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of sketchiness that can go on, to put it lightly and mildly. And as a woman, a young woman,
right? This isn't like a dude with a strap. This is a young lady. She's on the tool,
unarmed, young woman, as far as we know, unarmed.
Yeah.
And she's chasing a story because she wants,
and she believes that this has to end. This has been going on for 20 years almost. Like, this has to end.
She believes in the truth, as her editor does. She writes for the newspaper El Voz. I think that's the name of it, right? El Voz?
Yeah, La Voz.
Yeah. La Voz. Yeah, my bad. I should know that. That was bad on my part. La Voz. The editor is somebody who, like, you know, they tell the whole story about how he's getting the papers printed in San Diego because it's so controversial over there in Mexico and all this shit. And she's like, they didn't believe in the first, like, he didn't believe her about going to the wedding, right? He didn't believe her at all because he's like, a fucking wedding. Like, what is that going to do? And then
she comes back and she's like, this judge.
She still pursues it.
And their kids are best friends with the hitter for the biggest gang in Tijuana. So it's like.
So then what happens is, to walk you through some more, after the she goes, what was it, the wedding? Or was it this reception where she goes up to the little girls on the outside? She sees them or whatever, and
this was a next day.
The next day, okay.
She just went to the church randomly. And she remembered that they were there, and she got some sips from them. So that was even good on her part to just to know that going up tonight, she might put a target on her back, but going the next day where it's a regular service to talk to them, like, and then she found out, and she got like the real, and the kids don't realize, like, what
the kids are teenagers. The teenage girls, she went to the same school as them, she said, which shit, I don't know if that's true, but that's you know, like, she's trying to get the information. Pulls out a cigarette, whatever, and just talking to them. Goddamn. Another thing, if y'all haven't watched Narcos, everybody smokes in fucking Narcos.
Everybody smokes.
There's so many cigarettes. Like Felix Gallardo in seasons 1 and 2. Played by Diego Luna, who's fantastic. Just every other time you see him, he's puffing, you know, a cigarette.
But and even my other drug shows I watch, everyone who does coke also smokes cigarettes. It's like, wait, what is it? Is it nicotine and coke just go hand in hand. Like what is it?
I've never been a cigarette guy, so I don't know. But
yeah, I'm a cigar guy. You know, I like a good Cuban.
I don't smoke anything, but I'll tell you what. Like if I have some medical ailments later on in my life, I am going to the medical weed and not fucking popping 100 million pills. But anyway, so she goes and then she gets a tip from the kids about where the reception is. So then she, uninvited, crashes the reception and sees El Chapo and all these dudes from the Tijuana cartel who that, you know, she's obviously trying to chase or whatever the case may be. They have an incident. There's a fight on an upper balcony or whatever. She's just in there on the dance floor and she kicks it to a bartender to get information. And this is the thing. Hold on.
That was dope. I remember.
Hold on.
Now,
This is all right.
It's not the reception. It was the after party.
The after party, not the reception.
Yeah,
the after
party at the club. That's right. Yeah, I remember. I follow you now. Yeah.
After party at the club. She wants to get information on, you know, where these guys are and what they're gonna do, whatever. So she goes to the bartender. She got game, bro. Like I would have fell for this shit too.
She a boss.
She goes to the bartender and she's like, "Yo, what are those guys doing over there?" In short, this is essentially what she's saying. And you know, and he wants to kick it to her, so she's kind of like, "All right, give me this information first, and then whatever." She gets the information, hustles. She gave him a car, but hustles dude because she's like, "Yo, you know, tell me what I'm asking you for, so then you could go back to staring at my ass." Is essentially what she said.
Yeah, like, that's a bar. That's a bar. That's a bar. Like, okay, just look at my ass. That's a bar.
Well, yo, and then she gets the information from her about where they're gonna be. And that's going to play out later on in the series, which we're not, you know, we don't want to spoil too much of it. But that was sort of the signature thing, was just Andrea's entrance to me and all the shit that she stands for. Like I'm very excited about her character development as I get into it. You've already gotten into it, so you powered through that shit. But I'm taking a little more time with it. But yeah, Andrea Nunez, man.
So I know you thought this episode was called Cocaine Condolences because people die in Narcos, but actually, me and Brian's palettes are a bit diverse.
Yeah.
So a lot of you fans who watch Insecure also know that Condola has this running joke on Twitter where they call her Condolences, Condoleezza. Like there's so many
Condoleezza.
Yeah, there's so many names she's called. But Condola, so of course, spoiler, don't watch Insecure.
Spoiler alert for Insecure.
Lawrence
the first two episodes or three? How many we're doing here?
We'll go three.
All right, fine.
It's a finally got back to Lawrence. Things is good. But it says, was she her boss or business partner? Business partner, I guess, with Condola. It's a Condola.
He definitely met her through work, and then he gave her that word.
So it was like talking.
So we finally see Lawrence in episode 3 because we hadn't seen him except when Issa picked him up at the airport in episode.
So what I liked about this season so far is that they addressed two of the biggest things early on. Molly and Issa's relationship, and the Lawrence and Issa relationship. So, and I really felt that Issa said she got back to old school Stanford. They asked to speak in a panel for entrepreneurs. There's this guy this lady who makes water. This dude who's in the tech, and they asked like, how does she know she doing? She's like, honestly, I don't know. This is my calling. You know, I'm doing it right now. And so she felt so down about like how broke, but like she isn't Bill Gates, she isn't Mark Zuckerberg, so she felt the way about that. Yeah. And Kelly, the school that Kelly was dead. But what I liked about it, Kelly was killed off in the school, but this season has been a rebirth. You're now seeing a new Kelly, and I think tonight is like the peak. Tonight's a Kelly focus episode. So you guys, we'll talk about this next week. So I think tonight's a Kelly focus episode.
At the time we're recording this, that is.
At the time we're recording this. So what I liked about the first episode was you see Molly's dealing with her breakup. It's just dealing with her, I guess, feeling how she feels about being an entrepreneur, been in college 10 years. It's not like a short career. And where they collide is that they go into a party with their old friends. The collision happens where they're out with their friends and they got hustled. Like they went to the supermarket, they went to this party, and their friends, they want to get robbed till the guy called the girl's name, and then you would think something would break them. You know, the funny part was that it's shoes are so broken, he doesn't even want to steal them.
I've forgotten about that. They freaking that was from that was the first episode or the second episode?
That was the first episode.
So yeah,
and they
the girls
just laughed. They just laughed and laughed.
They got hustled by their homegirl who like.
Well,
Yo, and first of all, the dude who went to rob them, whose name they never give, obviously, because I mean, why would you? But the dude who went to rob them, he's such a bad thief.
Horrible.
That he calls the woman that he's working with
by her nickname.
By her nickname.
So it's not even like she heard her actual name, by her nickname.
And then she blew the cover. She's like, damn, whatever. And then that's when they jack up all the stuff. But I mean, like, this season so far, episodes 1 and 3 in particular. Oh my God.
3 was heavy.
Let's get into 3 now, because you warned me. Because episode 2, it's laying more foundation and it's really building towards what you see in episode 3, which is this is what Timmy really wants to get to. So episode 3, we finally get a lot of Lawrence, who's look, a lot of people's favorite characters, especially if you're a dude. And I will say this, not to spoil it, but the Lawrence body count is already at 1 for this season.
It's knocking them down.
It's already at 1.
You're cutting them down.
Cutting them
down.
So,
what I do love about, I like how Insecure shoots things. So that's just how you see me and Bryan side by side. I love when Insecure does the side by side comparison. So I'm married, but before I got married, me and my wife lived in different houses, so it was kind of difficult balancing us both raising a child together. So I felt it. So I know my friends who actually are fully co-parenting the relationship felt it. It shows you the vast differences of co-parenting. Lawrence is a good dude. Go ahead.
No, because we're skipping ahead a little bit. So basically what happens, right? Lawrence and Condola, they have the kid.
Yeah.
And
he found out via text. Hey,
and
baby,
he found out via text, which is very important because Condola is not really, she's not really giving Lawrence a chance to be there. And they skip ahead a lot. Like you're from there, you're like months forward, and it's
right. So so episode 2 basically was a year later in Issa's life. So you see what's happening with her.
It's a lot of groundwork being laid. And look, I wrote a fiction novel, as you can see back there.
Yeah.
It takes a while to lay that groundwork. It takes a few chapters, a few episodes, so to speak. But no, like they're playing it out, and then you're noticing all the difficult relationship struggles in terms of the co-parenting that Lisa and Lawrence and Condola are having. And the interesting thing about that is because it does give you a glimpse into how difficult co-parenting is, but also like Condola doesn't really want him to be there, it seems like. And then they finally have their big blow up, right?
And she's finding every excuse to say, well, so he lives in a different city. Lawrence is the prototypical good dude. I love my kid, I want to be there. But realistically, he lives in a different city, so he's making more money. He's willing to fly there, but Condola is like giving him. She's showing him a bone. She texts him today. The doctor told me tomorrow. Like so, and some days he's fried from work. Doesn't fly down. So you could tell she's really holding some maybe resentment because when she told him about the baby, he was like he wasn't head over heels because at this point in Lawrence's mind, I just thought it's a back, So that was like she blew up. Like he said, she blew up his life. So from her point of view is like
he said, hold on, we got to stay there for a second. Because he said, you blew up my life. Because he flew in from San Francisco because he wanted to take his son. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And by the way, also, she named him without
telling him.
Elijah Mustafa, right?
Yeah, and he calls the child Ja. And every time he said Ja, I could see her sisters cringe. Like, you name him Elijah, don't call him Ja.
He didn't agree on the name to begin with. So she's taking all of these liberties and not incorporating him. And then there's a time where he's gonna take him. This is what Timmy was just talking about. He's gonna take him for the weekend.
I mean, like he rented the Airbnb, rented a car.
I don't know if it was for the weekend, but he was gonna take him for like
one night.
He built, and you said it. And you said it. He built the crib, got the Airbnb, nice crib, which we saw later on. But then he goes to take her, and then he has to blow up, and then they have their blow up.
And he even called the day before, like, "Hey, is it still cool for me to take him?" And she said, "Yeah." So he's upset. Like, I'm tired of this. They had like a horrible argument, and you could just see everything that they've been holding back. Because come on, but I think one of the biggest parts was the party with your guy, the guy who goes with the only married couple in the crew. Went to their birthday party, and Kelly is now me him again because he asked about Issa indirectly how is everyone associated with it is just living abundantly. Like I can't remember the quote, but it's like it's been going viral all week.
And to sort of put a bow on this, like, and they did call each other at the end, Lisa and I mean
Yeah,
Lisa. I
condolences.
keep combining Lawrence and Issa.
Yeah,
Lawrence
yeah,
and
and condolences.
and Condola talked on the phone.
This is working.
Talked on the phone at the end, and they're, we'll see if they end up working it out. But look, while that was going on, you see the side by side as Timmy was talking about, of like their experiences through time. And that was when you saw that, Condola's really struggling, trying to figure out what's going on with, the co-parenting situation. And then Lawrence is over here banging another fine chick, you know what I'm saying? Like on the other side of the screen. And
Another one.
like Lawrence just be out here, just, racking up a body count. And evidently irresponsibly to some degree, because he wasn't trying to have a kid and it just sort of happened. But Timmy, I will ask you this before we get out of here. Whose side are you on? Like the old-fashioned sort of lazy question, but like, yo,
no, but I'm
Lawrence and Condola, like this is getting heated now.
So even though they both made mistakes, I still count Lawrence because at the end of the day, Lawrence has been self-available. He's giving you the numbers. He's told you call me whenever. I gave Condola fault for not texting. She said like the child went to the doctor. Condola didn't even tell him like you can't assume how the man is going to react. You have to give him the chance, So I gave Condolences fault for even if he fails, you give him the chance to fail. So after this, I'm with Lawrence.
I'm going to briefly say this before I toss it back to Timmy to bring us home. But I sort of I sympathize with Lawrence a lot here because he's trying to make it work. I get Condola too. I understand how I don't like that, she's doing things without consulting Lawrence or whatever. But like I kind of get like why she's thinking the way she is, but it's very difficult and very nuanced. But I would sympathize more with Lawrence just because like, yo, I think that he is obviously really, really trying to make this work, and Condola's not allowing him to do so. I feel like it's kind of that simple. Yeah. And I don't know what the sort like. Sure, she can also be better, but I'm not sure what the answer is necessarily because I don't see this going well. Is what I'm trying to say, right? I don't see where this is going to turn around and they're going to have an absolutely excellent relationship or anything like that. I just don't necessarily see that, and that's kind of because like that's sort of the theme of the show. Like all the characters are awesome and they're all train wrecks in their own way. You know what I mean? Like the only people that seem to have it together are like, well, nobody really, to be honest with you. So everybody's going through their stuff. And I want to say this too. I do like when shows have episodes. Rami is like this. I don't remember. You've seen Rami? Have we talked about this?
No, I haven't. No, you mentioned it. I haven't seen it.
Okay. With Rami, they do these episodes where they focus on, different characters in the show, whatever. And I think that's great. So I like that they had a Lawrence-centric episode here, instead of just focusing around the things that are going on Issa. And I think it's going to be back and forth, and then it'll come together at the end. So. Yeah.
So we and Brian, shout out to Brian for coming with this. We have this game. The game with no name. Eventually, we'll let you guys name it. A sponsor will come and name it. But basically, the point of this game is to convince the others. So with entertainment, we both play games. We both watch film. We both read books. So I said earlier, I really watch shows that has historical
and David, our producer, has to pick who wins because we're gonna keep a running tally at who does a better job at convincing the other person. That they need to see, play, or experience this shit right now. Like even if it's something you or I've seen before.
Yeah. So the crown. The crown is about the king and the queen and all those type of stuff. So the king, there's only one king who he gave the crown for vagina. He gave the crown because he wanted to marry. Within the royal family, he is disgraced. They hate him. The king, the queen, so the reason is one of the reasons why. The queen hates her uncle who gave the crown because him giving the crown means his younger brother, her daddy, had to become king. Because that happened when that king who was sickly died, she became queen. That's Elizabeth, who's alive. The queen who exists now when he became the queen because this king gave up his crown for a woman he loves. Do you know what happened? At some point, like to that king who gave his crown, he was the first governor of the Bahamas. They hated him so much. His punishment was he become the government of this little island nation next to Florida, who needed to be reared in. The sister of the queen, Princess Margaret, her whole life she trained to be a queen. She did what she had to do to the classes, the pump stuff. The queen herself never really cared. So that created a rift between Elizabeth and Princess Margaret. Do you know one of the distinctions that Margaret has? Our hospital in Nassau is named after her. So the two, like the outcast members of this super royal family, their outcasts became like big figures in the Bahamas. So this gives you the idea of how the king, the people with the crown, see us down here in the Caribbean. So to me, that's why I fuck with it. And it's very accurate. It just shows you how they didn't ever get the dirty stuff. Like they basically get their wealth from like dominating us. Like they came here, Columbus killed them. It's just crazy how they are revered and treated like gods in the UK. Whereas, so I don't know how much you know about like how much some islands still down there still like we are the Commonwealth. So like I don't know, Barbados just basically took out the queen of there and they now have their republic.
Puerto Rico's a Commonwealth also. You know what
right.
I mean?
So like you find
they treat that USA don't really treat it like that well, but that's another story for another day.
Yeah, so
that's interesting. That I could see where that resonates, right? And it's funny that you went that route. Where is the Crown on streaming services?
That's
Netflix.
Okay.
I'm going with something that's actually a ESPN show, not a show, but a 30 for 30, The Dominican Dream, that came out 2 years ago. So you went with something pretty personal. I'm going to say this, and I'm not going to go too long because we're already over 30. The Dominican Dream centers around Felipe Lopez, formerly NBA player who also played at St. John's, who played in the NBA for about 4 seasons, tore his ACL, and then that was it. For a New Yorker like me, and granted, this was a lot of this was taking place before I was like very conscious. Felipe Lopez was that dude in New York City around the time where Stephon Marbury was coming up and other great players from this sort of area coming up around where Kobe Bryant was one of the best high school players in the country. Kevin Garnett, Felipe Lopez was up there, ended up going to St. John's at a time where St. John's was still kind of recruiting those players, but not to that volume. Ron Artest came later on, and then the program after that. And they're coming back up now a little bit, but Felipe Lopez was
better rugby for you knew.
Yeah, that's true. Felipe Lopez, though, the story centers around him, and the Dominican Dream is really a story that, which I kind of try to do with my book in some ways, where it centers around him and he's Dominican, but really it's an immigration story for everybody. It really encapsulates, and it has this great ending that I don't want to spoil, but damn it, if I said it, I would win this contest, right? I still might, but I would definitely cement it if I gave away the ending portion of it, because the way John Hawk did it, he's a director, and I actually interviewed Felipe for this story a couple years ago on a story I did with Slam and John Hawk. That is a feature that y'all could actually go read it. John Hawk also did Through the Fire by Sebastian Telfair, which is another one of his notable works, which is really, really good. And the story is really an immigration story. And the whole point of it is that, like, look, even though he didn't make it as an NBA player and sort of underwhelmed in that way, he's still a huge success story because of where he came from, where his family came from, and the things that he, did throughout the course of his life, which they get into. So I encourage you to watch that. So we have The Crown versus the Dominican Dream. And now David has to pick a winner for who did a better job of convincing the viewers who won, and we're gonna keep the running tally. So, what do you want to see? What do you want to see more, David?
Well, this was tough actually, because when Timmy went with The Crown, I was like, oh, the Crown. But then he gave me the Bahamian Connection, and I started to come around a little bit. But I mean, that shit's just too British. I just can't. It's like tea and crumpets and like stuffy castles and all. I don't know. I mean, to me, like the Dominican Dream seems a little more kind of my speed, a little bit more grounded. a coming of age story, immigration, all those kind of things that touch on our lives and our cultures a little bit. Like The Crown to me, I can't relate to it at all. It just seems like
Fair.
I don't know. I mean, my mother-in-law enjoys it. I mean, she's in her late 70s and she likes it, but
Damn, what you trying to say?
Also.
But so this one I'm gonna have to give to you, Brian.
1-0.
Okay,
1-0.
Okay,
1-0.
right.
We're gonna keep the right.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. So
It's a marathon. Right. 1-0 Dominican Dream. So go check that out.
One of the best 400-meter runners in the world, the Bahamas. So I'm built for the long run.
Hey, I ran track, and I could testify because Timmy, you and I got to go to Penn Relays at some point because I've done that a few times in my life.
It's in Philly, right?
Well, yes, it's in Philadelphia because I ran track in high school and covered it some more. So, yeah, I mean, look, I'm honored to have the first victory here. So, people, look, y'all can comment Dominican Dream or The Crown. Which one do you think is better?
One you feel
which one do you feel like you'd rather watch? Because I am intrigued by The Crown, but I think I got Timmy by just as much.
Yeah, this is so. Thank you guys. This is episode 2. We have much more of this. So it's usually, we tend to do this every week. Maybe around Christmas time, we'll take a break. We gotta spend time with our families. We all are family men. So, but trust me, we'll come to you every week. Sports first on Mondays, culture on Thursdays, and just give us feedback. Let us know, what you like more. You like when we talk about the sports, when we talk about entertainment. Just give us a feedback. We are here for you guys. We're here for you. Just let us know. So shout out to my Puerto Rican homie in New York.
Yes, and again, commenters, be respectful. That's all I ask. You know what I'm saying? Just DMs, whatever. Just be respectful in your approach. We really don't have to fight about this shit. Like we honestly don't.
We're grown men, we're grown adults. We can discuss it without getting personal.
My fighting days are over. Okay, I can't.
So we'll see you guys next week. Tune in Monday. We'll get into some more Heat stuff, some NBA stuff, maybe start up with some early All-Stars. You never know. So
no, do not DM my Instagram account.
Twitter only. Don't get blocked.
Don't get blocked.